If you want to know how to make something that you filmed on something like this look more like you filmed it on one of these, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in this video. Adding the retro style look onto your footage is an awesome way to make them kind of stand out and just give them a little unique perspective if you love the look like I do. And it's up to you how far you want to take this. If you just want to do like the color grades, or if you want to go all out with film gates and overlays and grain, it depends. You can kind of stop wherever you want, but we're going to take you through the whole process. The majority of this is going to be achieved in the editing process where we add on all the effects, but there's a few things that you can do while shooting to give yourself the best base footage. The first thing that I really like to do is use a mist filter, one of these little bad boys, and it's just going to give us a much softer roll off on our highlights. It's going to blow out some of our like overexposed areas and give it that really nice soft filmy look. I've got one of these on this camera right now, and you can see if I take it off, that's how it looks without it. It's like super sharp, and then with it, it just adds that little look. The other thing that I'm gonna try and do most of the time is film handheld, because you can totally get away with having those like super smooth, perfect shots. Maybe you filmed it on a gimbal or something, but having the handheld look and kind of like that raw organic shake, kind of embracing it, is gonna look a lot better in my opinion. So I'm gonna shoot usual 24 frames per second and kind of just get some nice handheld movement is gonna be my main focus. So let's get some of that. The other way that I'm gonna film my footage is like complete lock off shots as well. So either it's on a tripod or just keeping my camera as still as I can. A little bit of movement is cool, but this is really great if you're someone that likes to do solo filming as well, because you can just leave your camera on a tripod and it's going to actually end up looking really, really cool like that. A certain technique that I really like to use that adds way more of like a stylistic flair to the footage. Not everybody likes it, and I suggest you don't do it every single time, but it's basically shooting in a slower shutter speed. So you introduce all this crazy motion blur into your scene. Ideally, I try to keep my subject kind of in the center of the frame, or at least not moving in the frame too much, so that they are generally not affected by the motion blur as much as your background, but you get this really cool look with this blur and everything happening in the background. The way I like to do this is by putting my shutter speed down to something like 1/20, play around with it between 1/15 and 1/30. My sweet spot's about 1/20, so let's capture a shot like that. I'll show you how cool this effect can actually look. So the scene that you choose to film is obviously going to impact like the end result. If you are filming some like crazy modern building or something, maybe it's not going to have the same effect. You can do it if you want, and maybe it ends up looking cool with like the completely retro look on something really modern. I like to film things that kind of feed into the vibe. So either nice natural environments like this grass field, but also if you have something cool, like we have this really cool retro car, so this cool green color. So this is gonna just lean into our vibe even more. We're gonna capture 1 or 2 shots of Ellie kind of just chilling out by the car. I think it will look really, really cool. Transitions and film burns and light leaks and stuff are sick for retro style footage, and I'm gonna show you how to actually use them. But before that, I want to show you something I like to do by just kind of capturing my own transitions when I'm actually filming. So it's super basic. I'm gonna keep my shutter speed really low, and I'm just gonna do some like crazy person whip movements and get random different like whoo, and you can overlay them by adjusting the different blending modes, and they end up looking so nice. So it's really just doing whatever I want, and this will make sense later on when we're editing. Once you have your banger retro footage filmed, it's time to start doing some post-production, and this is where the magic happens. Now look, today's video is sponsored by Moi, and I'm gonna try and sell you something right now. I know you guys aren't stupid, so let's cut the shit. I have a retro film elements pack that has everything that you would ever need to turn your videos into retro style content, from grain, color grades, sound effects, film leaks and burns, gates, overlays, and so much more. It's 50% off right now, so you can go and check it out if that's something you're interested in. If it's not, I'm gonna show you how you can achieve this look by yourself without the pack as well. I got you. So let's jump straight into it. I've picked out a few of my clips right here, and the color grading is gonna be super essential, and that's gonna be the first thing that we're gonna kind of work on. Generally, for retro style content, I like to kind of give my footage this a little bit of like a green tint and make it quite vibrant and saturated, but still with somewhat of a low contrast. And that really sells that like retro kind of nostalgic style feeling. So once you have your clips over in Premiere, you can either use one of the LUTs that come with the pack. There's 7, including a conversion LUT to go from log to Rec 709, and then all the creative LUTs to make your footage look super retro. If you don't want to, that's cool. Here's a few things that we can do. So once we head over into our color grading tab, the first thing I'm going to do is add an adjustment layer. That is how I like to do my color grading. And the first one's going to be a forward correction LUT, because this was filmed in log 3, S-log 3. And then the next one is going to be for our creative LUT. First thing, I'll just add a correction LUT on here, included in the pack. So that just straight adds it back to where it should be. You can see before and after, Rec 709 standard. Then we're going to go to our second layer, and we are going to start meshing with our colors a little bit. Now the nice thing about Premiere is this is pretty much laid out in a chronological order, working from top to bottom. So we're going to start off with our basic correction. I'm going to take these green tints just down a little bit. I'm going to take the contrast down, shadow up, highlights, whites, blacks, maybe a little warmer, make it nice and summery. And then I'm going to go to creative, and I'm going to put the vibrance up ever so slightly and the saturation down. Now, if I was going to use a LUT from the retro asset pack, this is where I would add it in and I would pretty much be done. I'll show you that in a minute, but let me show you how to do it by yourself first. The next thing is I would want to go to curves, and we want to throw in just a basic S-curve here. Nothing too crazy. We're pretty standard as of this point as in terms of just color grading. I can also mess with these things just slightly. So I might take something like here, take the yellows slightly down, and then maybe just put the oranges slightly up to keep our skin tones nice. Hue versus hue, I might kind of do the same and just make this yellow, make these greens slightly less yellow. I think that's gonna look cooler. So you can see how that's changing our greens right there, taking a bit of that yellow out and making them super green. Hue versus Luma, I'm gonna leave. And then I like to always just pull down all of the luminance and saturation in my shadows. The next thing is color wheels and match. Not really gonna mess with it. Maybe I'll take my shadows slightly bluer, ever so slightly. And then for this, it's quite an important part for your HSL secondary. So I'm not going crazy in detail here in terms of color grading, because I have other videos on color grading, but we basically want to select this green. I want to tweak it a little more. So we're just going to get a nice green selected. And then I am going to add in some blue into the greens, and I'm going to desaturate the greens a bit, contrast out, a little bit green over here, and I think it's gonna look better. Let's put it back to normal, and we can always check what we're doing by going like that. Subtle, but nice. The other thing I wanna do is add some more yellows into our highlights to really give it that like poppy feeling, and this skin tone is not looking orange enough for me. So I would like to go back here, and I think this might have hit too much of our oranges. So we can take our oranges kind of up a little bit. That's looking a bit better. It's kind of like an experimentation thing. This is definitely hitting our oranges. I did not mean to take it down so much. I would rather put the orange and reds up, so you can see that the skin tone is looking way, way better now. So that's looking pretty good, I would say, for as of now. Let me show you how I would do this if I was using a LUT from the LUT pack. I would simply go to creative, and I would add in one of my LUTs, and you can see the before and after. That's the difference between the LUTs, kind of just with a click. Now, I want to add grain to make it soft and delicious. It makes it look so, so much better. The Retro Film Elements pack does come with a bunch of different strengths of grain that you can add on. And if I was to throw one on, you can see that it immediately gives it that softer look. You just need to drop one of these grain overlays on and change your blending mode to overlay. This is going to make the whole thing look a hell of a lot softer and introduce all that nice noise into your frame. There's different strengths in the retro pack. If you do not want the retro pack, that's totally cool. What you might need to do is, the other way that you can do this is you're going to use a noise filter within Premiere. It's not as sexy as the grain that comes with, but it will work. The other way is to find some sort of PNG image on Google Images or whatever, put it over your image and then hit screen or overlay. Let's look at some light leaks and film burns. This is a really awesome way that you can add another interesting element to your footage. So you get these really cool like light leaks or film burns that kind of like come in from your frame and like add these kind of flares, or if there was like sun shining into your lens, or just these like little burns, and it really adds to that whole vintage look. So this is how they kind of look once you add them on the clips. You can again get these from stock media websites. You can make them yourself, or you can get them from the Film Elements pack. To further sell the effect, use sound effects, like a little film burn sound effect, or like a little click or a projector screen or something like that. And that just sells it really nicely. Again, I'm not selling it too hard, am I? But there are sound effects packs. There's a sound effects pack in the Film Elements pack with a bunch of cool retro sounds. Now, the other really fun way that I love to do transitions, and you don't need the Film Elements pack for this, but it's by just creating them when you're filming. And that's what I was doing earlier on when I put my shutter speed really slow, and I would just do these like camera movements or whipping like my camera around. And it gets these really cool like traily motion blur style shots in the scene that you're in. It can be the same colors and the same styles. And basically you can just take these, you want to chop them up really small, some part that you think is interesting, just put on a crossfade out of them so that they don't come in too harsh or end too harsh. And you can put those above little transitions between your clips as well, and they end up looking really, really cool like this one. I think it's a really nice effect. You can just make those in camera while you're shooting a video, which is really like awesome as well, in my opinion. I do it all the time on my vlog channel. In those vlogs, a lot of the transitions are those little like motion blur cutaways. The last thing that we can do to our retro footage is to add some sort of film border or a film gate. Now, a lot of the times this kind of like pushes that footage over to like a more extreme version of the vintage look. And you can see as I'm flicking through these ones right here, it like is a very strong kind of look. So it's up to you whether you think these are cool. I find that I use them quite a lot. It's really nice to just kind of emphasize a certain section of my video or something like that. In a vlog where I have like a cool little b-roll section, I might add on a film border, and then the majority of the rest of the video won't have one. I wouldn't put it across my entire video, and if you just had like a little reel or a b-roll section, then 100% throw them on. It really like sells that effect, makes it very, very cool. You can create these in Photoshop. It's going to be very tricky to create moving ones like the ones you're seeing me using, but you could create just a normal one in Photoshop and have that around your frame. That's going to look quite cool. Otherwise, download a PNG one. The Film Elements pack ones are moving, and they come in every different aspect ratio that you could think of, and they're also customizable, so you can move them and make them work for whatever style of footage it is that you really want to apply it to. So I hope that helps. If we take a look at our first little sequence right here, and then we swap it to that full-on retro look, it really looks cool. I think it's an awesome little unique look that you can add onto your footage. Remember, check out the retro pack, it's 50% off. Other than that, I will see you in the next one. Have fun, bye.